Crime is something that is always going to happen within the United States, and there's really nothing that we can do to stop it, but we can do things to prevent it or lower crime rates. One of the ways that we try to prevent or deter crime is through punishment, and we have different types of punishment from fines to incarceration, and the most extreme, which is capital punishment. Capital punishment entails putting somebody to death via the electric chair, lethal injection, the gas chamber. We've moved away from a lot of the different ways that people can be put to death, but it's also been a topic of discussion because there's two very different sides who are very passionate for pro and con of capital punishment and the death penalty. And compared to the rest of the world, a lot of places have actually abolished the death penalty and capital punishment, and the United States is actually kind of behind in that sense. So there's a lot of different reasons why we still adhere to capital punishment. One of the reasons is that there are some people who believe that capital punishment can be used to deter crime such as homicide, and it will further prevent violent crime. This actually hasn't proved to lessen the amount of violent crime at all. So, which is why there's another side that believes that we should abolish capital punishment and focus on rehabilitation and really getting to the root of the cause of people committing crime, being violent, and everything like that. There's also mass incarceration and overpopulation of a lot of prisons. When you look at California, that has the three strikes laws, there's a lot of people in prison for nonviolent crimes mixed in with the regular population of those who have committed violent crimes. So when you look at that sense, we're putting a lot of money towards incarcerating a lot of people. Those that are on death row, actually, their trials cost a lot more money for them to be put through capital trials, and then just housing them on death row and then through the execution is actually more expensive than just figuring out, maybe a life sentence or, putting someone on parole. Then there's also the Innocence Project, which has exonerated a lot of different people through DNA and evidence, those which are or who were on death row. Um, it's also showcased some cases in which people have been executed, unfortunately, and were later proved that their evidence did not match their DNA. So I think there's a lot of things we have to look at when we look at capital punishment. I don't think that there'll ever be an equal view on it. There's always going to be opposing sides, especially when it comes to the morality of capital punishment. You're asking someone, the government, to take another person's life because they took someone else's. The whole eye for an eye concept, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the correct way to go about things. And when you think about lethal injection, doctors have to prescribe the lethal cocktail to the inmate, and which goes against the oath that doctors take, which is to protect life and to, fulfill that. So asking a doctor to kill someone kind of goes against their moral code. And that's also an issue when it comes to capital punishment. So I think that we're moving more away from execution and like the death penalty as we look at scientific evidence and DNA. And I think that we're trying to find different ways to subdue violent crimes.